Crash on ice. The sky was dark. The stars were silent. A silver ship fell from the sky, burning like a falling star. It crashed into the coldest part of Earth, a place where snow never melts, where even animals fear to walk. Inside the broken ship was a girl. Not human, not from this world. Her name was Kayla. She opened her eyes slowly. Her skin was blue, her eyes were silver. Her fingers shook as she touched the cold snow. "This is Earth?" she whispered. Her body hurt. Her suit was torn. One leg was bleeding. She looked around. Her ship was gone. Only fire, ice, and broken metal remained. The cold wind touched her skin like tiny knives. She stood up slowly. Her breath made small clouds in the air. She had never felt cold like this before. On her planet, it was warm all year. But here, she could die. Kayla took a small round device from her belt. It was broken. "No signal," she said. "No one is coming." She looked at the sky. No stars she knew. No ships. No friends. She was alone. Night one begins. Kayla found a small cave in the rocks. It was just big enough to sit in. She took off a part of her suit and tried to make a fire. Her people never used fire like this. But she had studied humans. She had learned how they survived. She used her last spark tool. The fire was small, but it worked. Kayla sat close to it, shaking. Her hands were turning purple. Her lips were dry. 3 nights, she said softly. "I have food for 3 nights, maybe." She took a small bite from a dry, glowing pack. Alien food. No taste. Just energy. Then she looked at the stars again. Why did I come here? She asked herself. Her people told her about Earth. Humans are dangerous, they said. They fight, they kill. Never go near them. But Kayla wanted to know the truth. She was a traveler, a seeker of knowledge, but now she was just trying to stay alive. The fire began to die. The wind got stronger. She wrapped her arms around her body. Far away, something moved. A light. A shape. Kayla's ears twitched. She could hear footsteps, heavy, crunching the snow. Her heart raced. Human? She whispered. She quickly turned off the fire and hid behind the rocks. Her body became still. Her breath slowed. The footsteps came closer, then stopped. Kayla looked through a crack in the rock. It was a man. A human. He wore a thick jacket. His face had a beard. He looked tired. He held a flashlight and looked around. Kayla covered her mouth. If he saw her, what would he do? Shoot her? Capture her? But the man just looked at the broken ship from far. Then he turned around and walked away. His light disappeared into the dark. Kayla waited 10 more minutes. Then she crawled back to her fire and lit it again. She was shaking, not just from the cold, but from fear. She had seen a human. Her first. And he didn't look like a monster, but still, she couldn't trust him. She touched her injured leg. It was worse now. If I don't find help, she said, I won't see the second night. But she knew help would not come from her people. Only humans lived here. She looked again in the direction the man had gone. A small light blinked on her broken device. It showed heat, a building nearby, a house. She thought about it for a long time. Could she go there? Could she ask? A human? She closed her eyes. She saw her family, her world. She wanted to go home. But first, she had to survive this night. She threw another piece of her suit into the fire. The flames rose again. It hurt, burning her clothes. But she had no choice. This world was not made for her, and she had just lived through her first night on Earth. Snow fell like ash. The wind screamed across the frozen land. Trees stood like silent ghosts. And in the middle of all that silence, Kayla was breaking. Her hands were purple now. Her fingers moved slowly, like dying machines. Her breath came out in sharp clouds. Her lips had cracked. Blood dried at the corners. She hadn't slept. She hadn't moved much since last night. But the cold didn't care. The fire was dead again. She looked at the tiny ashes. Nothing left to burn. Her body was shaking, her teeth clattering. She reached into her bag, only 2 food packs left. No heat packs, no medicine, not enough, she said softly. Not for 2 more nights. She tried to light the fire again. But the spark tool was finished. No flame, no light. Just the sound of her own slow breathing. Kayla looked at her suit. It was made of special fabric from her world, heat-resistant, strong, protective. But now, she touched her outer layer. The fabric felt stiff. Useless. Slowly, with shivering hands, she pulled it off. One piece, then another. Tears rolled down her face, not from pain, but from fear. This suit was the only thing between her and the cold. But if she didn't burn it, she would freeze. She broke off one sleeve and pushed it into the ashes. She used the sharp edge of a broken metal plate to strike a spark. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. Her fingers bled. But she didn't stop. Strike, spark, hope. And finally, fire. A weak flame flickered. She cupped it with her hands, feeding the sleeve slowly into it. The smell was sharp. Not like wood or paper, but like burning plastic and memories. The fire grew. She sat near it, breathing faster, crying quietly. This is my last layer, she said, looking at the rest of her suit. If I burn this, I have nothing left. But the cold answered with silence. She remembered her home planet. 2 suns, warm winds, orange skies. She had never known what real cold felt like. On her world, survival didn't mean fire. It meant knowledge here on Earth. It meant fire and pain. Hours passed. She burned one more piece of clothing. She wrapped her hands near the flame and closed her eyes. Suddenly, a sound. Footsteps. Again, not near. But not far either. She stood quickly and covered the fire. She moved behind the rocks, heart racing. Crunch, crunch. She peeked. Through a crack. A dog. It limped through the snow, thin and alone. Its fur was white and dirty. It stopped a few feet from the cave and sniffed the air. Then it turned and walked back the way it came. But Kayla saw something. Footprints. The same human boots from last night. Same man, she whispered. She looked back at her fire, then down at her shaking legs. One was turning blue. She had burned her suit, but it wasn't enough. Tomorrow her body might stop working. She picked up her broken device again, pressed the side. A red light blinked. Weak, but there. She pressed the button. A soft beep. Human heat source detected. 1 house. Not far. Kayla stared at the map for a long time. Maybe I go. But her people warned her. Never trust humans. They look kind. But they are not. Still, the fire was dying again, and she had no more suit to burn. She stood up, weak, cold, and afraid. She looked at the glowing map in her hand. A warm spot. Just half a mile away. She wrapped the last piece of cloth around her arms and stepped out into the storm. The house was breathing, not like a person, but like something alive in the middle of the cold. Its chimney coughed smoke into the gray sky. Its windows were fogged with warmth, and its wooden walls creaked with every gust of wind like an old creature waking from sleep. Kaela stood behind a snow-covered tree, staring at it. Her legs were weak. Her fingers numb. But her eyes still watching. This was the place. Her scanner showed heat inside. One life form. Human. She had walked for nearly an hour through ice, with no shoes, no full suit, and no weapon. She was beyond scared now. She was quiet and desperate. Inside the house, Leo stirred his soup. He was a man of simple things. Thick, Boots, thick beard, and a quiet life in the woods. He didn't like the world out there anymore. So he built this place to be alone, but he hadn't been alone. Not really. Not since he saw the crash 2 nights ago. And then last night. The shadow in the snow. Not a bear. Not a deer. Something different. Outside. Kayla moved closer. 1 step, then another. She reached the edge of the porch. There was a bowl sitting there. Soup. Warm, fresh. She stared at it. Steam rose gently into the cold air like a signal. Did he leave it for animals? Or did he know she was coming? She knelt beside it. Her hand shook as she touched the side. Warm. Too warm to ignore. She picked it up and sniffed. It smelled strange, but not bad. She looked at the door. Closed. No cameras. No weapons. She took 1 sip. Then 2. Then. The bowl was empty. Tears welled up in her eyes. Not from the heat, but from the feeling. Warmth. Inside her. The first warmth in 3 days. She stood up slowly, unsure of what to do. Then the door creaked. It opened. Leo stood in the doorway, not holding a gun, not yelling, just standing. He looked at her the way someone looks at a lost dog. Cautious, curious, maybe a little kind. You again, he said softly. Kayla froze. She couldn't understand the words, not clearly. But the tone felt calm, not like a soldier, not like an enemy. She took 1 step back, then he stepped forward, not close. Just enough to let the light from inside touch her. You look half dead, Leo said. You need more than soup. Kayla didn't move. She looked at the fire behind him, at the soft couch, at the light bulbs glowing yellow. Then she looked at his eyes, not angry, not afraid. Just tired. Like her. She stepped inside. Slowly. Cautiously. Like walking into another world. The heat hit her like a wave. Her body trembled, trying to believe it was real. She collapsed near the fireplace, breathing hard. Leo didn't ask questions. He didn't scream. He tossed her a blanket. You're lucky I'm not the shoot first kind, he said. Kayla didn't understand the words, but she pulled the blanket over her shoulders. Her body began to relax, but her mind didn't. She was still hiding the truth. Her skin looked almost human now, pale from cold. Hair messy, eyes tired. But her hands had faint blue lines. Her spine had tiny ridges under the skin, and in her pocket was a glowing alien device. She gripped it tightly. Leo sat on a chair across the room. He watched her. You don't talk much, he said. I get it. I've had days like that too. Kayla looked at him. Her translator was slow, but it gave her some words. Thank you, she said, voice dry. Leo raised an eyebrow. Well, that's a start. He pointed to the kettle. Want tea? Kayla didn't know what that was, but she nodded. And for the first time in 3 days, she smiled, just a little. The device still glowed between them. Blue light pulsed on the wooden floor like a heartbeat. Slow, steady, alien. Neither of them moved. Leo stood frozen, a half-full mug of tea in his hand. Kayla knelt near the fire, fingers wrapped tight around the strange object. Her body tensed like a spring. For one long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Leo set the mug down gently. No sudden moves. That thing, he said, voice calm but firm, that's not from around here. Kayla didn't answer. Not with words. Only her eyes spoke, wide, silver, afraid. Outside, the wind howled against the windows. But inside the house, silence ruled. Kayla tucked the device under the blanket, but it was too late. He had seen it, and not just the glow. He had seen her hands too, the faint blue lines, the strange veins, the way her fingers bent, not quite human. Leo slowly sat back down, not taking his eyes off her. You're not just lost, he said. You're not from here, are you? Kayla looked down. She could lie or run, but her body was weak. Her legs still bleeding under the blanket, her skin cold under the heat. And this man, he had given her fire, food, and safety. She made a decision. She opened her hand and held out the device. Leo didn't reach for it. He just looked. What does it do? He asked. Kayla pressed a button. A small hologram popped up, a map of the crash site marked in red, and another blinking dot over the house they were in. Scan. Heat, danger, she said slowly, trying hard to form the words. Leo nodded. You're tracking threats. She nodded once. He leaned forward. You crashed here? Yes. No one's coming for you, are they? Kayla hesitated, then whispered, No. Leo sat back. He rubbed his face with both hands. Well, he muttered, I've seen weird things in my life, but this takes the cake. He looked at her again, not with fear, not with hate, but with something else. Curiosity, and something like concern. Kayla didn't know the word for it, but she felt it. The way he looked at her, not like a monster, not like an alien, but like a person, a living thing. He stood up and walked to the small cabinet, took out bandages, antiseptic, and a needle. You're hurt, he said. Kayla's eyes widened. She backed up. Leo stopped, held up his hands. No. Tricks, he said. I've patched up worse. She slowly nodded, and he came closer. As he cleaned the wound, Kayla winced. The antiseptic burned like acid on her skin. Leo noticed her flinch. That bad, huh? She nodded, teeth clenched. Heal like us? Faster, she said, but cold slows me. He wrapped the bandage gently. His hands were rough, but careful. Afterward, Kayla leaned back against the wall. She watched the fire flicker, felt the warmth on her face. She reached toward it with both hands. Your fire saves me, she said softly. Leo smiled a little. Yeah, he said. It saved me too. She tilted her head. My wife, he said. She died 2 winters ago. This house, this fire, it's all I had left. Kayla didn't understand every word, but she understood the pain in his voice. She looked at him and said the only thing she could. I'm sorry, he nodded. Me too. And just like that, the air between them changed. Not trust. Not yet. But the silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was shared. Later that night, Kayla sat near the fire, blanket wrapped around her like armor. She looked at the family photo on the wall, Leo with a woman and a dog. She pointed. Your people? Leo nodded. Used to be. Kayla held the picture for a second. You helped me. Why? Leo shrugged. Because you needed help. Kayla looked confused. No weapon, no trade. Don't need one, he said. You're not a threat. She stared at him like that was the most alien sentence in the world. The drone didn't knock. It simply hovered, silent, unseen, above the trees near the old cabin. Its lens turned slowly, blinking red like a cold eye searching through snow. Inside the house, Kayla was dreaming. In her dream, she was flying. Again, stars around her, home behind her. Then, fire. Crashing. Screaming. She woke up gasping. Leo had already been awake. He sat by the window, staring into the night, holding a cup of tea he hadn't sipped for an hour. He had seen the light flash between trees, something metallic, something watching. He didn't tell her yet. Kayla sat up slowly on the couch. She looked stronger now. Color had returned to her face. Her hands were less shaky, but she still held the alien device close, even in her sleep. Leo looked at her. So, he said, voice low, you gonna tell me the rest? Kayla blinked. Rest? I know you're not just lost. I know you're not from here. But I don't know why you came, or what you're hiding. Kayla looked down. Her fingers tightened around the device. I came. Alone, she said. Not to invade, not to fight. I wanted to learn about humans. Leo raised an eyebrow. Well, you picked the worst spot on Earth to crash for that. Kayla smiled weakly. So I've learned. Leo stood and walked to the fire. He dropped more wood on it and stared into the flames. My people told me, Kayla said, your kind is dangerous, cruel, hunters. Leo turned his head slightly. And what do you think now? Kayla hesitated, then said quietly, I think not all hunters kill. Outside, the drone-focused dot had caught a thermal signature. 2 bodies inside the house. 1 human. 1. Not quite. It pinged a silent alert to an orbiting satellite inside. Kayla walked toward the window, staring at the forest. I lied to you, she said. Leo didn't react. I said no one is coming. That was half true. My people aren't coming. But someone else is? He asked. She nodded slowly. Your people, she said. I think they found me. Leo's jaw tightened. How do you know? Kayla raised the device. It blinked red now. Eyes in sky. Metal watchers. Heat trackers. Leo stepped closer and looked at the screen. You mean drones? Yes, they search. They don't ask. Leo ran a hand through his hair. This is bad, he said. You being here, it's not just trouble. It's government-level trouble. Kayla didn't understand all the words, but she knew the tone. She looked at him, eyes wide. I will leave. Leo shook his head. You won't make it 10 steps in that snow. They're probably circling now. Kayla clenched her teeth. Never wanted this, she whispered. I didn't crash here to hide. I crashed here because my ship failed. I burned my clothes. I nearly froze. And then, he looked at her. What about me? You didn't run. You didn't shoot. You gave me soup. Leo gave a small laugh. That's a hell of a reason to trust someone. She tilted her head. Hell? Never mind. They stood in silence. Then Leo said, Let me show you something. He went to the back room and returned with an old metal box. He opened it. Inside were papers, maps, a small revolver, a radio. And an old photograph. It showed Leo in uniform. A soldier. Kayla stared. You were warrior. Yes, Leo said. I saw war. I saw what humans can do, what we are capable of. He looked her dead in the eye. And I've also seen what mercy looks like. Sometimes it's the hardest thing to give. Kayla nodded slowly. I understand now. She took a deep breath. Then, slowly, she pulled back her blanket. Her skin shimmered, not blue, not silver, but something in between. Lines of light traced her arms, glowing softly. She removed the contact lenses hiding her eyes, pure silver, reflecting the fire GHT. Leo didn't flinch. He just whispered, You really are from out there, aren't you? Kayla nodded. I trust you. She said. The trees were no longer silent. They buzzed. Not with birds or wind, but with signal, with power, with the hum of machines searching for something that did not belong. Above the frozen woods, 3 black drones cut across the sky like shadows with wings. Their eyes blinked red. Their scanners sliced through cold and snow. They weren't guessing anymore. They had found her. Inside the cabin, Leo packed fast. His hands moved from drawer to drawer. Flashlight, batteries, old rifle, extra boots. He had the face of a man who had done this before. A man who had once run from something. Maybe war. Maybe himself. Now he was running again, not for himself, but for her. Kayla stood in the middle of the room, watching him, still wrapped in Leo's blanket. Her face was pale, her breath short. You knew this day would come, Leo said without looking up. Kayla nodded. I just didn't think it would come so soon. Outside, a low rumble. Tires. Snow crunching under weight. A black government truck stopped at the tree line. Boots hit the ground. 4 figures. All in dark gear. No names. No flags. Just helmets and weapons. One of them raised a scanner. It blinked red. Heat signature. Inside that cabin. Inside. Kayla held the edge of the table. You should not help me, she said. Leo zipped up his coat and grabbed the radio. Too late for that. If they find you with me, I'll be fine, he said. They won't find us. He pulled up the rug on the floor and revealed a trapdoor. Kayla blinked. What is that? Leo gave a small smile. Plan B. They climbed down into the dark just as the first knock hit the cabin door. Boom, boom, boom. Federal agents. Open up. No answer. The second knock wasn't a knock. It was a boot. Wood splintered. They entered. 4 of them, guns raised, but the cabin was empty. Fire still warm. Cups on the table. Blanket on the couch. But no people. Underground. Kayla followed Leo through a narrow tunnel, barely wide enough to crawl. She could hear her own heartbeat in her ears. Her body was weak again. The cold had returned, but so had fear. Where does this lead? She whispered. To a place I used to fish from, he said. They won't find it. Built it years ago, back when I thought the world might end. Kayla glanced at him. You thought your world would end. Now, mine might. Leo didn't reply, but he moved faster. Back in the cabin. One of the agents picked up the alien device left behind on the table. He turned to the commander. Confirmed? Tech is not human. The commander tapped his helmet mic. HQ, we have contact. Subject has been here. Escaped underground. Recommend lockdown of this sector. At the tunnel exit, Leo pushed open a hidden wooden hatch under a pile of rocks. Fresh air hit their faces. Kayla gasped. Leo helped her out and scanned the sky. They'll be watching the roads now, he said. But they won't think we're going toward the river. She looked at the frozen stream ahead, glittering like glass. He pointed. That way. They began to walk. Kayla limped, every step burning. Leo slowed for her, even when it meant risk. He kept checking the trees, the sky, the wind. Then suddenly, he stopped. Kayla looked up. 3 dots in the sky. Coming fast. Drones, she said. Yeah. Leo muttered. Fast little bastards. He pulled her down behind a fallen log and raised his rifle. The drone swept over them, but didn't fire. Not yet. Kayla held up her device. Tapped fast, whispering in her language. What are you doing? Leo asked. Masking heat, she said. Just for a minute. Leo looked at her like she was a miracle and a magnet for trouble, all at once. For 1 minute, they were invisible. The drones passed, but they would circle back. Kayla looked at Leo. We cannot run forever. He nodded. Then we don't. The snow stopped falling. For the first time in 4 days, the sky above the forest opened, not fully, but enough for light to break through. Not sunlight. Spotlight. From above. A drone. A helicopter. And far behind them, the eyes of a watching world. Kaela stood in the clearing. Her body trembled, not from cold, but from decision. No more hiding. No more running. Leo stood beside her, his old rifle hanging loose in one hand, a radio in the other. He had made the call, and now they were coming. Repeat your message, sir. Did you say alien life form is with you peacefully? Leo pressed the button again, his voice calm. Yes, she's not a threat. She's wounded. And she trusted me before we ever pointed a gun at her. There was silence on the line, the kind that usually comes before something explodes or changes. Forever. Kayla looked up, Her hair blew in the cold wind. The scars on her hands were healing. Her face was bare now, no more blanket, no more disguise, just her. Her silver eyes met Leo's. I am scared. Leo gave a small smile. So are they. In the sky, the helicopter doors opened. Men in black stepped out, weapons drawn, but not aimed. They approached slowly. One of them spoke into a megaphone. Do not move. Place your hands where we can see them. Kayla didn't move. Leo stepped forward just one step. She's not dangerous, he shouted. She's freezing, hurt, and trying to survive. You do the same. No answer. Just the sound of wind and a dozen weapons clicking into ready position. Kayla took one step forward. She raised her glowing device into the air, then dropped it into the snow. A sign. She was done running. One of the agents looked at the others. What is that thing? Another replied quietly, It's not a weapon. It's a tracker. Then Kayla did something none of them expected. She raised both hands and spoke out. Her voice was shaky but clear. I came here to learn. I did not mean to fall. I did not mean to cause fear. But I fell, and I met him. She pointed to Leo. He showed me what your kind can be. Not war, not hate, but fire. Soup, bandage, blanket. She took a breath. You said I must show my hands. Now show me yours. Silence. A long one. Then one of the soldiers lowered his weapon. Then another. And then all of them. Leo let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Kayla smiled. Barely. But in that moment, it felt like warmth returned to the world. Not from fire. From something else. From recognition. Hours later, she sat in a government tent. Not a cell. A tent. Doctors checked her wounds. Scientists asked quiet questions. One even offered her hot chocolate. She didn't drink it, but she held it close. Leo stood nearby, arms crossed, watching everything. A young officer walked up. She could be the first of many, he said. Leo nodded. Double quotes are the only one, he replied. Doesn't matter. What do you mean? Leo looked at Kayla. She's already one of us. Night fell again. Kayla sat near a fire, real wood, real crackle. She looked up at the stars, not searching for rescue anymore. Not hoping for home. Just looking. Leo sat next to her. She leaned her head on his shoulder and softly whispered, On my planet, we believe humans were made of war. She looked at the fire. But you're made of something else. Leo smiled. What's that? She answered, Second chances.